all of the creations and things that were invented came through visualization, because everything that is manifest, everything that is in our world was created in somebody's mind before it was actually created in real life. And every piece of furniture and everything that we use and everything that is a part of our world was first seen in someone's eye, and then it was created. So and that is the use of visualization. This isn't a scientific fact, but it seems to be about 1 out of 10 people don't visualize, I guess you could say, like everybody else does. They close their eyes and they see black. From working with a number of people, it seems like it's about 1 out of 10. If I have a room of 30 people, about 3 of them will raise their hand and say that they see black when they close their eyes. There's one right there. Yeah. And that doesn't mean anything negative. I had teachers, meditation teachers, that were famous teachers that couldn't visualize. They couldn't see these images anyway. And I do feel, I don't know this from experience, but I do feel that visualization is something that can be created. I mean, it can be worked with. It can be practiced too. So, and what that normally means is that we can work with it and create, work with our ability to visualize during our meditation. And I think it's a really good practice. And we'll kind of take a look at that today here. It's interesting when we visualize, a lot of things will come up about what we see and our experience. And there's different ways, there's different views of visualization. For example, when we visualize ourselves doing something, do we see it from a camera view, like a still picture, or do we see it from a movie standpoint? And so when we think about seeing ourselves, we can also see ourselves like looking at ourselves in the mirror, or seeing ourselves doing something like we are actually in a movie theater watching a movie of us doing something. These are things that a lot of people don't think about, but it's very interesting. And we can also we can do things in such a way that if we completed a task, again, it could be a still snapshot, or it could be how we are looking at it ourselves. So there's a good chance that many of us visualize exactly how we're seeing right now, which is we're seeing our hands. When we're doing something, we're seeing our hands. We've never seen our face. Nobody in the entire world has ever seen their face. It would be a miracle for them to pull out their eye and turn it around like that. Maybe, some doctors, Dr. Strange or something, or one of those dudes has done something like that, but we have never seen our face. We've seen reflections of our face, and we kind of trust that, but sometimes reflections in the water, or sometimes, reflection in the worst reflection is the window of the car when we're opening it up is like, that's not me, no, because we're looking down, and it's just not good.
Especially after 50.
After what?
50.
After 50. After 50 beers or what? No.
Years of age.
Yeah. So in other words,
everybody looks good.
Yeah. Yeah, there's something about age, though. You lose your hearing and you lose your eyesight, and then you look in the mirror, you go, I look pretty good. You can't see anything, but and I hear good too. I sound good. And you can't hear anything. on and on. It's just it's nature's way of saying, hey, it's not going to be so bad. You know, you don't know what you're missing, right? So visualization is interesting from the standpoint of what are we actually seeing, and how do we look at these things? How do we want to see these things? Do we want to see these things like we're actually watching a movie? You know, the whole scene play out and just kind of, you know, see these things unfold? Or do we want to actually be in it, you know, where we are doing this and doing that? We can see our hands doing this. And likely it's a combination of things. Is it black and white, or is it in color? A lot of people visualize in black and white. They don't bother with the color stuff. A lot of people don't think about it. They don't, you know, most people probably don't think about it. It's like thinking, what language do we think in if English isn't our primary language? Do we think in a different language? You know, that's one thing I like to ask people when I know that English isn't their primary. So, same kind of thing. A lot of things that we just don't actually consider and think about. But visualization, people like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Tesla, the list goes on and on. You know, Paul McCartney wrote yesterday from a visualization. And again, Arnold Schwarzenegger saw himself winning, you know, Mr. Olympia. I think it was Mr. Olympia or Mr. World, maybe both of them, I don't know. But he saw himself doing that. And so he used visualization as a tool. There's been a number of sports figures that have, you know, said that they wouldn't be who they are if they didn't have that practice of visualization. Seeing themselves, Muhammad Ali, seeing him winning the fight, you know, against you know, Sonny Liston, and becoming the world champion. He saw himself doing that before it even happened, before it manifested. And it's like, if we want to keep that in mind, if we want to accomplish something, we certainly can do it, but not if we don't believe that we can do it. Not if we don't see ourselves doing something. I would say it's very difficult, almost impossible to do something, but it's just the opposite. If we see ourselves doing it, we know that it's possible. And the mind knows it too, because the mind and the body don't know the difference between whether we are faking it or if we're actually doing it. It's all the same. It's all the same. It goes into the subconscious, and the subconscious does whatever necessary for that to materialize the way we see it and the way it's visualized. And so we really are limitless beings, unless we don't want to be. I mean, unless we want to be limitless, you know. And after watching, you know, this film on TV on this Gaia network, I wish I knew the name of it, because then I could reference it, but maybe I can find it and bring it in next week. But the next morning I was going to do, you know, I was going to do a meditation, and I thought, well, you know, I'm going to kind of go back to this visualization and visualize, you know, maybe, you know, work with the visualization. And then I remembered that I have an excellent meditation that involves visualization, and that is the Recall and Create meditation. Because I've taught this many times, and everything I'm saying here, if you want a copy of it, you can go to ShaneWilson.org, not Meditation Learning Center, but ShaneWilson.org, and you can find a link up in the top there that says Recall and Create, and there's a whole readout of how to do it and all the details involved in there. So you can turn to that and find it online if you like. But I thought we would do a meditation based on that, but it needs a little bit of like an introduction, actually more like instruction than anything else. So recall and create there's three different areas to it, and we're going to be really focusing on two. But the three areas are: to recall is to remember our yesterday, and the other area is to let go of any negativity that we found in our yesterday, and that way we're continuously reducing and letting go of any negativity, even before it sinks into the subconscious and causes any problems for us. We're noticing that it happened yesterday, and we're letting it go, which is the key to, not allowing any negativity to bother us, is to be able to accept it and let it go. And that's one of the steps in recall and create. That's the and, actually. And then the create is seeing your tomorrow or your next 24 hours. So if we're doing this practice in the morning, we would remember our yesterday, not including our sleeping time, but we want to consider our dreams. And then we're working with our next 24-hour day as a recall yesterday, last 24 hours, and creating from the standpoint of our next 24 hours. Recall and create. And so if we're working on this at night, like we are doing now, we look back and we can review our day from the morning that we woke up all the way up until, basically up until now. I mean, when we're done meditating here, I think a lot of us will probably go home and relax and probably meditate for another couple hours, right? Yeah, right. And so we can just kind of, everybody's nodding, it's great. And we could, kind of think in terms of that. So we'll do this practice where I'll lead you through the meditation of thinking, and don't apply yourself too hard with this, but right now, but 5 hours in the morning, this is morning for some reason right now, and then 5 hours in the afternoon, and then 5 hours in the evening. And of course there's more than 15 hours in a day, but this is the primary. We usually look at 16 hours in a day, and then 8 hours of sleep. So just to round everything off, and we don't want to get hung up on the time so much, and the like, oh, I did this for exactly an hour, I did this for, oh, I only did this for a half an hour instead of an hour, what do I do? That kind of thing. Just make everything very, very general. In other words, what did you do from 7 o'clock until 8 o'clock, 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock, 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock, 10 o'clock to 11, something like that. And then our 5 hours in the afternoon, approximately, and 5 hours in the evening. And so that's the main thing that we want to cover. And the reason we're doing this is to strengthen our concentration, and we have something to stay with. And we're also looking for any kind of negativity. We're allowing ourselves to just let that go, unless it serves us some way. And if there's some lessons behind it, we can use it. We can use it immediately without, letting it surprise us sometime. And all of our lessons come from the past. And also, we are basically allowing ourselves to see if there's anything in our yesterday, the last 24 hours, or last 16 hours, 15 hours, whatever, that we almost regret. Some wasted time, maybe something that we could have done better. Maybe something that didn't necessarily benefit us and didn't benefit anybody else. These moments. And then, because we can use all of this information for our tomorrow, our next 15-hour period. And I'm kind of glancing over the sleeping area, but again, we want to definitely keep in mind any rememberable dreams that we've had as well. And so what I'll do, I'll lead us through this meditation, and I'm going to assume that most of us kind of got going at 7 o'clock. And if you got going at 6 or 5 or 9 or whatever, just kind of go with it. This is really the only way that this can be guided, is that I name off 5 increments of time in the morning, 5 increments in the afternoon, and 5 increments at night, so that we can all just follow this in sync. And then there'll be a little period of letting go of any negativity, and then we'll do the same thing about creating our tomorrow, from tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening. Okay? So recall and create. It's I think it's a very useful tool. There's a great deal of contemplation in this practice too. So it includes concentration, of course, contemplation, because we're focusing on, intently focusing on a specific area, and all areas of meditation, all areas of practice, whether it's Judaism or the Christian traditions, Hinduism, and particularly Buddhism. They all have their contemplative practices, and we don't talk about it a lot in Buddhism, but the Buddha did. He mentioned it even in the Anapanasati and the Satipatthana. He mentioned the time to contemplate, and that was primarily for the dharmas, the teachings. So if we want to contemplate on something, it's a teaching that he might have given, some words that were spoken, that he spoke based on his insight, that he thought we might find useful. And to contemplate on these things is to take that subject and dwell on it. That's what he meant by contemplation. And we're kind of doing some of that here, where we'll be taking a subject, which is us, in a particular time of the day, and we're focusing and dwelling on that. So I invite you to make yourself comfortable. Gently close the eyes. And just take a few minutes and bring your attention to the breath. And you might want to count the breaths a little bit. Do a little bit of a setup practice. Do something that you're very familiar with. In fact, why don't you do this? Breathe in, and every exhalation of the breath, count 1. And we'll just do that as you count up to 10 with every and each exhalation of the breath. Just do that on your own. Making the body nice and relaxed. Kind of checking in, make sure there's plenty of energy. We need energy to meditate well. And to visualize in meditation generally is active. It's an active type of practice where there generally is an increase of energy. At least there should be. If there isn't, that's not a problem. But if there is, don't be surprised. And this practice called recall and create is something that can be very beneficial. I have a lot of clients, a lot of people work with this, and it really has changed a lot of people's lives. If you have a regular, consistent practice in insight or vipassana, I don't suggest that you dump that practice in favor of this. I would suggest that you try this one along with it, because this can be done in a short period of time, or you can work with it for longer periods of time. It's really up to you. And tonight we're just going to take our time with it. And again, I'd like to have you assume that you have woken sometime in the morning around 7 o'clock, perhaps. Even though I'm saying these times of the day, don't take them to heart. This is very general. But primarily, I would like to have you remember what happened when you first woke this morning. And if you can't remember all the details, or any of the details, that's fine. That doesn't make you a bad meditator or a bad visualizer or a bad anything. It's just something that can be worked with, and something that you might find interesting. Some people recall everything they did very easily, and some people have a little bit more awareness, in their recall, in their memory. So what did you do when you woke this morning? Do you remember how you felt? You might have asked yourself what day this is, and then when that was clarified, you said to yourself, oh yeah, this is Wednesday, yippee, I get to meditate with Shane tonight, yay. Or maybe you woke up and you did most likely something that was a routine for you. You got up and used the bathroom in some way, and you went on ahead and did your routine, whatever that might be. And I want you to visualize that. What did you do from the time you woke up for approximately the next hour? See if you can follow that step by step. You can see it from the standpoint of you looking out of your eyes. Your eyes are the camera, or as if somebody is holding a camera and that you're watching the movie. Either way. And as mentioned, this is not an easy meditation to guide one through, because there's a lot of variances, a lot of differences. A lot of work shifts that people have, and some people don't leave the house, and some people do, and all sorts of different things that people do. So this first hour of the day is generally a pattern, something that we do automatically. Kind of see yourself going through it. Maybe the first 15 minutes, what takes 15 minutes? Then the next 15 minutes, what would that be? Getting ready, or thinking about breakfast already, making that cup of coffee? I don't know, what would it be? And then the following 15 minutes, getting into past the middle of that first hour. And then we can look at it as almost at 8 o'clock, or you've been awake for an hour. What have you been doing? Is there anything that you'd want to change And believe me, if you do this every day, you will make changes in your life, because you'll see your time, you'll see what is going on, and your creativity will go through the roof as well. And your time management will get much better, all without trying. Just awareness alone will do these things, and much more. So approximately 8 o'clock, you've been awake for an hour. Maybe some of you are going off to work. Maybe some of you are going into your home office. Maybe some of you are getting ready for breakfast. What are you doing in that second hour that you're awake? See yourself doing it. Maybe you're relaxing, reading something. I like to write in the morning. I think I write every morning. And I'm sure a lot of you are meditating at this time in the morning as well. I hope you are. What's on your mind in this hour? Are you taking care of yourself or taking care of others? Now the third hour, going into the third hour of the morning, perhaps 9 to 10 o'clock, something like that maybe. And what are you doing at this time? Some of the same activity, or is it completely different? Are you driving? Are you walking? Is every day different by this time, or is it pretty much the same Monday through Friday? Is there a routine? If there is, then it's very easy, but there's always more details to see, because we are a thinking machine. What were you thinking this morning at this time? Were you thinking all good thoughts? No negativity at all? Was there any negativity that came to the mind in the morning? So approximately from 10 o'clock to 11, some people might be late with breakfast. Some people might have ate breakfast a while back. This is the fourth hour of the morning. The day's slipping by already. You've been awake for 4 hours. Now what are you doing? Are you planning your day? Do you know exactly what your day has in store for you? Any computer work that you're doing? Are you on the phone at this time? What's happening? And see yourself, and see as much detail as you would like to see. And if you have trouble doing any of this, just know that it's very good for you. It's very good for the brain, very good for the mind, you know, to work these neurons in this way. It changes things physically and mentally. And now the fifth hour of the morning, from 11 o'clock to 12, what was happening? I was cleaning the garage. That's an easy one for me. Seriously cleaning the garage for a good time, a good moment, a good chunk of time in the morning. And I remember a lot of things that were going through my mind. Does this stay, or does this go? If it stays, that means I have to be responsible for it. All these things. Some people might be considering lunch and what to make for lunch or buy for lunch or have. And we haven't mentioned any kind of physical activity that we probably, many of us might do in the morning. Exercise or walking or that type of thing. So now we're in our afternoon.
Got it. Don't have.
Mm-hmm. So we're looking at our afternoon. And again, 5 hours in the afternoon. We'll start with 12 o'clock. And what were you doing around 12? This is usually a very easy time to kind of pinpoint if we're at all aware of the clock. Sometimes that 12 noon mark slips right by, but it's kind of a point in time that we can notice. A lot of times we go, wow, it's 12 already. From 12 to 1, what were you doing this part of the afternoon? Some people might kind of feel as if they're taking a break, like a lunch break or something like that. Some people might just finally get going, or maybe some people feel like they got a lot done and they're kind of done for the day. You never know. What were you doing from 12 o'clock to 1 approximately? And then at 1 o'clock, again, approximately 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Were you driving? Were you at home? Where were you? Were you sitting? Were you standing? Were you walking? Were you indoors or outdoors? Were you with somebody? Were you with alone? See all the details. See you doing what you're doing between 12 and 1. And now let's move on to the second hour in the afternoon from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock. And again, if it helps to break it up, look at the first maybe half hour from 2 to 2:30, or excuse me, 1 to 1:30. Maybe 1:30 to 2, or you could break it up into 15-minute increments. Hours are just sometimes easy chunks to look at, doing something for approximately an hour. So from 1 to 2, we're taking a look at that, and now let's move from 2 to 3. This is the third hour in the afternoon. From 2 to 3 o'clock. We're almost at mid-afternoon already. What were you doing today at this time? And again, was there any negativity? Is your day going as you wanted it to? Everything you were doing, was that planned, or was it just kind of a free-for-all? And now we're going from mid-afternoon at 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock. For some people, this is the time they get off of work in the valley here. It's not true in the Midwest, but in the valley, people start early, and sometimes they get off early. It's not uncommon for somebody to get off work at 3:30. So if you're working, what were you doing? If you're not working, what were you up to? See all the details, what was happening. And now let's go from 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock. This is later in the afternoon. It seems like the more we get into our days, sometimes the less. This is a time of day where it's not so repetitious for a lot of people. Morning's very repetitious, and sometimes evening, our evenings kind of get set into a period of relaxation maybe, or doing a certain thing. But this time in the afternoon, from 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock, and even later in the afternoon, sometimes it's a little bit open. Sometimes we pick up something at the store, for example. Taking care of some things that we didn't take care of yet today. Maybe that was your case. And then now we're kind of almost getting into the evening hours from 5 to 6. I still consider this afternoon, but a lot of people look at this as evening and getting close to lunchtime or dinner time. Some people call it supper. And so what were you doing from 5 to 6? We're getting into the last 5 hours of the day. It's still daylight out. And we are looking at today, so maybe you're considering, coming to meditation and some things you have to do before you come to the meditation group. And now we'll move ahead from 6 to 7, and that's, a lot of you are maybe making your way here, or if you're online, you were taking care of some things, maybe in preparation for getting online, and maybe you're finishing some things up on the computer. Maybe you wanted to grab a bite to eat before meditation. What was your thinking like before we started the meditation at 7 o'clock? Were you clear-minded? Did you have a positive intention? Was there any negativity? Were you certain about what you wanted to do, or was there some apprehension? Think of all these things. There's always something to recall when we look at the past, the things that we've been doing. And now we look at 7 to 8, and of course, this is easy because we're meditating right now. And we're getting into the area where actually it's kind of a present moment awareness. And we'll keep going for a few hours, and actually we're going to go from the present time and go into the future a little bit, just to give us an idea of how it might feel. From 7 to 8 o'clock. Listen to me talk a little bit, and then we did some meditation. Hopefully it's going well. And then moving ahead from 8 to 9. These are what I consider evening hours, of course. The sun has gone down, and you will be probably listening a little bit, and then either leaving the meditation center here or turning off the Zoom and resuming your evening, actually. Some of us will be driving home. Some of us will be maybe thinking about what we're going to be doing next. Finishing up something before the end of the day, perhaps, or maybe even getting a bite to eat, whatever it might be. And then we can even move from 9 to 10. This is the area that a lot of people are probably relaxing. Maybe using this time constructively or using it for R&R, but many people are thinking about getting ready for bed, probably. And so this is the recall area of recall and create. Again, it's very important to notice any negativity that we might have noticed in doing this recall. Negativity is there to serve us. It's a teaching for us. And we're not purposely looking for it, but if there is anything that we want to let go of, this is a good time to do it before it settles into the subconscious. And there's a good chance that things have come up. Not a good chance, it's almost a certain chance, a certain certainty that things have come up throughout the day, throughout the past 16 or so hours from the subconscious that have triggered something for us, or that have caused some kind of negative thoughts. And these are the things that, if we can notice them while doing this kind of practice and then let go of them, they're reduced almost immediately, and it changes things. This is actually something that we want to really consciously do, is to be able to accept any kind of negativity, any kind of negative emotions, if we want to call it that, or negative thoughts. And they're not really negative, but they're there to teach us something. And if we can see these, accept them, and then let them go, that's a huge, huge a part of our growth. And it's something that we have to do spiritually in order to awaken, in order to advance. And this is a good time to do it. Just being aware and letting go, just surrendering. And primarily we're letting go of some kind of attachment of the mind. When we go into the area of creating, we want to look at the first aspect of the morning, our new morning. This is tomorrow morning we're looking at. Imagine you're waking up. See yourself waking up from your bed like you do every morning, but this time you're very aware of what's going on in the mind. You're very aware of the thoughts. This is the first hour of your day. You're following your routine, but maybe things seem differently for you because you're very aware. Approximately 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock. Again, this is the routine hours. We're doing a lot of the same patterns. Not all of us, but most of us. And we go through our morning. Maybe we're looking at things a little bit differently because we're giving ourselves an opportunity to see what we want to see and do what we want to do. And change any kind of subtle or maybe even major things that we want to change about our morning. So we're seeing this firsthand before it starts. This is the creation aspect. So from 9 to 10 in the morning, whatever it might be that you're doing, just see yourself doing it. Maybe with a little renewed enthusiasm. Some inspiration about the day, about what you're actually doing, your efforts, your intention. Now from 10 to 11, later, a little bit later in the morning. If you haven't done so already, you've kind of made plans for your day. You know what your day is going to look like. You're not going to let anything necessarily interrupt you, and if it does interrupt you and your plans don't go as they should, there's a reason for that. You accept it. There's no negativity. And now what are you doing or plan on doing from 11 to 12 tomorrow? And you see yourself accomplishing this and doing it. And like we spoke earlier, if we don't see ourselves doing something, there's a good chance that we won't do it. If we do see ourselves doing it, it seems to feel like we're stepping into the shoes that we are supposed to be stepping into, putting on the gloves that we've had on before, or it seems very familiar. Now from 11 to 12, you're stepping into your afternoon. See yourself taking care of whatever you're taking care of and doing what you're supposed to be doing, what you plan to be doing. And now these noon hours from 12 to 1, what do you normally do? Or what do you want to do? Do you want things to be the same? Then maybe you do. That's fine. Or do you want things to be a little bit different? And these small incremental differences is really what makes it different. The change that we want to see and that we look forward to experiencing. Now from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock in the afternoon, see yourself doing what you want to do and maybe should be doing. And from 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock, this is the third hour in your afternoon. And maybe you want to use these hours in a little bit more wiser way. Maybe there's not much change you can make, but maybe there is quite a bit of change, all depending on the day of the week as well. So this is Thursday that we're looking at. Now the fourth hour from 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock, a little bit later in the afternoon. And these are approximate times. Three o'clock to 4 o'clock. And then from 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock, what I consider late afternoon. I usually look at 6 as being evening, like another evening hour, Some people look at 5 as being like an evening. And then what are you doing late in the afternoon, like 5 to 6? Oftentimes this is one of the important meals for a lot of people. And see yourself doing what you would like to do from 6 o'clock until 7 o'clock tomorrow evening. Maybe you have some plans already. If not, maybe there's something that you want to accomplish. Just imagine having all your time organized in a relaxing way where you're not pushing yourself, but you're actually feeling like you're getting done what you want to get done. Now let's move to 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock. Getting into the evening hours, the sun has gone down. Some people might be thinking of relaxing, and some people might be thinking of maybe catching up and using that time for something. Some computer work, maybe reading, whatever it might be. Now from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock tomorrow evening. What are you doing from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock tomorrow evening? And then we'll move that into one more hour, looking at from 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock. Some people might settle in front of the TV a little bit, watch a movie, or some people, again, might be reading. Your evening is your evening, and you might be sharing it with somebody, and you might be alone. And you might still be out, or enjoying a meeting online or something. It's your time. So looking back on your day, hopefully you feel as if you were able to kind of organize a little bit more and feel like your day is kind of set in a very positive way. And remember that all of this is loose. In other words, you're not trying to push yourself. You're not trying to change your world in such a way that you're going to make these huge changes. You want to do it very lovingly. You want to have a lot of respect for yourself. And remember that awareness is very, very key. Just being aware of your time, being aware of what you're doing, what you're enjoying that you do. Just being aware. Now, if you'd like to bring your palms together in front of you, may each one of us and all beings be well, happy, and peaceful. May no harm come to us. May no difficulties come to us. May we all meet with spiritual and worldly success. May we have the patience, the courage, and the understanding to meet and overcome any problems or any difficulties that we may face in life. Thank you.